Hey everyone, Chef Hamel here, and I am going to demonstrate to you how to make these adorable and delicious Japanese vegetarian gyozas. They are little pan-fried dumplings, and they are actually very easy to make. The first thing you need are these wonton wraps that you can get in any supermarket. They come in squares, and depending on the shape you're going to make, you can cut them into circles, which we are going to do today. You need a little bowl of water that is going to help you seal the little dumplings, and of course our filling. Now you can use a variety of different fillings for these dumplings. I chose to make a vegetarian filling because I had a lot of vegetables in my fridge, but you can make your filling with pork, with beef, with ground chicken, ground turkey, whatever you have on hand. My filling has green and purple cabbage, radishes, carrots, mushrooms, scallions, what else? And I think that's about it, and a bunch of other stuff. I'm going to put a recipe down below in the description section for you to follow if you'd like to make a vegetarian version. If not, I will put some other recipes for meat fillings as well. So first thing we are going to do is we need to cut a bunch of these square wrappers into circles. So I have a circle cookie cutter here that I'm going to use to cut all of my wrappers into circles. And I have a little bowl for my scraps. And I like to kind of go one at a time, only because if you take all of the wrappers out of the packaging, they will dry out rather quickly. So I like to keep them in the packaging and work one at a time. So if you look at the wrappers, there's usually one side that has a little bit more cornstarch than the other, or it looks like a powdery substance. The cornstarch is what's going to help the wrappers to close once a little bit of water is applied. So I have this little spoon here. I'm just going to take a little bit of filling and place it in the center of my wrapper. You're going to be surprised that less filling is better than more, so don't try and stuff them with filling because they won't close properly. So we're going to take a little bit of water on the end of our finger and just apply it to the edge of half of the circle. Then this is where the fun part comes in. So we are going to crimp these closed. So I'll come as close as possible as I can. So you're going to work with the side of the wrapper that is closest to you, and you're going to make little folds in the edge of just the top part of the wrapper. If you can see that there. It's just this top edge. And all I'm doing is folding it onto itself and making these little pleats. So if you look at the wrapper, all of the pleats are going in the same direction. So I'm right-handed, and I like to use my right hand to start on the left side of the wrapper, and I work all the way to the right side. So I'll show that to you again. So I have some circles already cut. I'm going to take a little bit of our filling and place it in the center. Remember, don't get greedy because they won't close or they'll burst during the cooking process. Then you're going to take a little bit of water and apply that just to one half of the circle. And then we can start our pleats. So just the top part of the wrapper is going to get the pleats. So you're folding it onto itself, and you should end up with about 4 pleats. And you're going to pinch them really good so it stays closed, and you will have a little adorable gyoza like that. So I'm going to do a bunch more, and then I will show you how we are going to cook them. Hey everyone! So I am going to now demonstrate to you how we are going to cook our gyoza. So I have a non-stick pan here. I put some avocado oil, which is a neutral oil, in flavor in the pan, about a tablespoon or so. You can use canola oil, vegetable oil, whatever you have on hand. But anytime I'm doing any sort of pan frying, I don't like to use olive oil because it tends to burn. It has a much lower smoke point than some other oils. And also, I don't necessarily want an olive oil flavor for my gyoza. So while this heats up, I thought I'd point out that the wonton wraps that we were talking about can be used to also make tortellini if you're in a pinch, which maybe I can make another video later this week showing you that folding technique. But if you don't have these fancy wraps, you can just make the dough yourself, which I will put that video down below in the description. But these are really a lifesaver. Usually they're in the refrigerated section of the produce area. Sometimes you find them near some vegan items, but I would say almost every single supermarket carries these, which is really convenient. And it's really fun to make these at home, especially with kids. They love making them. There's all different types of fillings and dipping sauces that you can make, and to be honest, the fun part really is forming all the different little shapes. So this is kind of like the classic shape that we did today, but there's a bunch of other types of shapes that you can make, which I will also put that link down in the description below. So we want to make sure our pan is hot enough because what we are trying to go for is a nice brown crispy bottom, but then what we are going to do is we are going to add a little bit of water to our pan and put the top on, and what's going to happen is that it's going to steam the top of our dumplings. So it is pan fried and it is also steamed at the same time. So our pan is almost getting hot enough. Just wait another second. I'm going to start adding these in. Even if it's not quite hot enough, it is almost hot enough, I can tell. So we're going to do a few at a time. You want the flat side or the bottom side down, facing, touching the pan. We'll do these in 2 batches. You don't want them to touch because sometimes they like to stick together. So you can hear it starting to sizzle, which is good. I have my heat on about a medium, so for an electric stove like mine would be about a 5. You don't want them to get too dark on the bottom, but you do want to get a nice crispy crust. And like I said, I used vegetables for this recipe. So this recipe is actually completely vegan. The wonton wraps are vegan, and all of the ingredients that I used inside are vegan as well. They're all vegetables. I used ginger, garlic, some spicy chili sauce, soy sauce, sesame oil, and some fresh lime juice to season the dumplings or the filling. Vegetables need a lot of flavor, or they can take a lot of flavor, I should say. So adding all of those spices and seasonings really do make the flavor pop in the vegetables. And it's also important to point out that soy sauce, as I'm sure most of us know, is very salty, so there's no need to add additional salt to this filling because the soy sauce is the salt in the filling. So I'm just going to take a peek at these, and as you can see, they are starting to get crispy on the bottom. Of course, that's not clear, but they are starting to get a nice light crispy bottom. So we'll let that go another second. And then we are going to add our water. We have to be very careful when we add our water to the pan. because there's oil in the pan and because we are adding water and because they don't mix, it is going to steam up very quickly at us. So we need to make sure we get the top on rather quickly. So as you can see, it's a nice golden brown on the bottom. So at this point, I am going to lower my heat slightly. And I have my lid of my pan ready, and I'm going to add just a little bit of water. It's going to steam up, and it is going to steam the top of the dumplings. If you are making a filling that was meat-based with either ground turkey, ground beef, ground pork, it's important to point out that when you fill the dumplings, that meat is raw, and so this steaming process is what is going to fully cook that filling through in the dumpling. So let this go. We want a lot of that water to steam through our dumplings. You have to be patient. No peeking. Maybe a little peek. As you can see at this point, you can actually see the beautiful vegetable filling through the dumplings, which means that the wrappers are cooked through. These actually could use another minute. You want them to be really nice and soft. That's how you know they are cooked through. So at this point, we're going to use our spatula and just put them back on our mat here. Of course, if you are using meat, it's important to point out that you would not put these back on the same cutting board because raw meat and cooked meat obviously would be cross-contamination. So you would need to have another board to put these on. So I'm going to add a little bit more of this avocado oil. I get this at Costco. I'm sure most supermarkets carry it. Sometimes I even actually see it in TJ Maxx and Marshalls. But it's a really really nice neutral flavored oil. And just a little bit. Swirl it around our pan. It might pop a little just because there was water in the pan. And we are going to add the rest of our gyoza. Now these are great. You can eat them with rice. You could eat them in a really nice broth as like a soup. Or you could just eat them as is, as like an appetizer with a really nice dipping sauce. I make these a lot for catered events because they're really pretty easy to make and they're really attractive looking. They're a really nice appetizer. But they're also really delicious for dinner as well. So I'm going to be eating these tonight over some just white rice, nothing too fancy. So I'm just going to cut into one of these for you just so you can see. So, right, we got our vegetable filling. It's a nice crispy brown bottom, and then the top is really nice and steamed. So if you are cooking these at home and you have gas, which obviously cooks a lot quicker, I'm sure that you'll be able to adjust the heat a lot easier. But because I have electric at home, controlling the heat is a little bit more challenging, but I'm very used to it because that's how I learned to cook. So that's just another thing to keep in mind. Right, these are starting to get really nice and brown on the bottom. Just to show you. Right, that's about the color that we're looking for. A nice, light, crispy brown color. So at this point, we need to add our water. And put our top on. If you have any questions about this recipe or any variations of this recipe, please put them in the description, or actually please comment, sorry. Please comment on the bottom and look in the description for a bunch of useful links that I'm going to put. Alrighty, so let's take yeah, almost there. The nice thing about this recipe is that the dumplings are very soft. They have that really nice crispy bottom for that difference in texture. This would be delicious for any weeknight dinner and a fun activity to do now that we are quarantined with your kids. So almost all the water has disappeared. These are gorgeous. You want to make sure your heat isn't too high. You don't want the bottoms to get too brown. But these are perfect. Get a little close up of our finished product. So beautiful. The bottom, ooh, hot. It's nice and crispy and brown and delicious, and that is exactly what we are looking for. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you have any suggestions of anything you'd like to see me make, or any questions about this recipe, please comment, and I will get back to you as soon as I can. Thank you so much for watching.